I'm Janet Gonzalez of Rosey Creations. Today, what I'm going to do is demonstrate how I do my clear coat. I'm going to tell you about the product that I use, how I thin it down, and then actually do a clear coat so that you can see for yourself a different way of clear coating if you're not doing that already. This is a painting that's completely finished, that already has the clear coat on it. I don't know if you could see the finish on it very well, but this one here has already been clear coated. It's dry, it's got its little bling on it, and you can see that it's a nice smooth finish when you pour your clear coat on versus using a brush. So I started using pouring method. Me and my brother discovered like that works better. So what I am going to do is prep first the canvas. So I have this little product here. It's called My Little Steamer. I call it My Little Steamer, but it's actually called My Little Steamer. It's probably for steaming clothes. It's called Joy My Little Steamer Deluxe. I don't know if you could read that on there, but it does not shut off. It doesn't have a safety, so you always have to remember to shut this particular brand off, because it will boil out and then stay heated up. It has a little stone in the bottom of there. So I like the triangle shape on it for getting up in the corners. So I want to show you, so that's heated up. First I want to show you this canvas here. See how baggy it is? So if you clear coat on a baggy canvas like this, you see how much it's got all that play in there? What's going to happen is your coating is going to puddle up in the middle, and then it's not going to dry right and it's going to crack. So what we want to do is stretch this canvas tight so we don't have that happening. And the way I stretch it tight is I steam the back of it. So we'll get the steamer going again. And then this is made out of cloth. So canvas is cotton and it shrinks when you heat it. And even though you've already painted on this painting, you've messed around with it, you've stretched it out. Now in order to get a nice clear coat, you want to re-stretch it again, because before you do your flow painting, you should stretch your canvas so that the flow painting dries nice. And then afterwards, it might be stretched out from you laying your hands on it or washing the oil out of the paint or whatever, however your method is of preparing your painting for clear coat. It ends up stretched out again. So we retighten the canvas. So I'm just steaming the back of it. Probably not even showing you anything, but here we go. And then this gets up into the corners, because in the front of the canvas sometimes you'll have a little wrinkle in the corner. So I kind of start from the middle, and then I get up into the corners because it'll start shrinking it from the middle and pulling it out. And then turn it over, take a look at your front corners and make sure you don't have like divots in the front corners, which this one does not. It came out nice and tight. Alright, so now look at it. And you can hear it. Sounds like a drum. So then when you look at it, it's like it's nice and flat, doesn't have a bow in it. So when you clear coat, it's not going to puddle up in the middle. You'll have a nice even clear coat across the whole top of the canvas. Alright, so we got this one here that we want to clear coat. This one isn't as baggy, but it's a little baggy. So we'll do this one too. So if you're going to clear coat, you might as well clear coat more than one painting in a day. Unless that's all you have to do. But what I do is I do these flow paintings. I do other kind of paintings too, but on the flow painting, I'll do a flow painting and then I let it dry for like 6 weeks. I wash the oil because I use that spot on treadmill belt lubricant. So you have to wash that off so that your clear coat can stick. So about 6 weeks later, I wash my canvas and I let it dry. I don't wash the back of it, I only wash the oil off the front. I will wait and see if any more oil is going to come out of the paint. And then if it looks nice and dry and there's no oil on it, it's good to clear coat. So this one here is already, I think this one tightened up pretty quick. So you see that? like it's a nice, really nice flat surface. And then I got one more, and I think I already did this one because this one's pretty tight. Alright, so I did this one ahead of time, so that doesn't need to be done. So I'm going to set my little steamer down. So this is a handy little gadget to have when you do clear coating, flow painting. I do quite a few of these flow paintings. I let the kids do flow paintings, but I'm the one that does the clear coating. So I just want to set that down out of my way. Close this drawer so that I have a little drawer underneath here that I can pull out so I can set some things down there. So this is the product that I use. It's Liquid-X Professional Gloss, Medium, and Varnish. Alright, this is it. I mix distilled water in here. It says right on the label that you can thin it down up to 25% with distilled water. So that's exactly what I do. I thin down the whole container because this is a really thick product and it's made for brushing on. But because I decided that I want to pour mine on and not brush it on, I thin it down so that you can get it to roll across canvas. I keep showing it to the wrong camera. So I'm like looking over there and showing to the wrong thing. Alright, so this here is what we need to have nice and flat. We're going to pour clear coat on top of here and then you just roll it. So the clear coat, and you don't have bubbles in here. You know, like when you're doing this, you do not want to create a bunch of bubbles in your products. Whether you're stirring paint, stirring clear coat, whatever you're stirring, do not make it all frothy and full of bubbles because it will mess your product up. It's going to mess up your end result. So when you stir things, stir it gently. On a bigger painting, if I was doing a lot bigger painting, I would tape the edges off. But on this one here, it's just small, so we're not going to tape the edges and worry about that right now. Alright, so you pour yourself some on there. Cover up your bucket. Don't leave your products opened up because you don't want that to start drying over there. And then we'll move these two out of the way a little bit. And when you tip this, just let it roll slow. Like don't tip it too hard because you don't want to have like all these little fingers coming down because they're really hard to fill in. And if you let your clear coat roll slowly down the canvas, it's pushing the air out so you don't end up with a bunch of bubbles in there later that you got to try to pop or something. Yeah, the less bubbles that you have in any of this process, the way better off you're going to be. So if you tape off the edges, you can tip it a little bit harder, but you still want to move slow whether you tape off your edges or not. So right here where we have that, it's better to pour a little clear coat in that hole than to try to tip it into that hole. And you will end up wasting a little bit of product going into your tray. I don't try to pour off of one painting and onto another painting because until you're really finished with this, the other painting is going to be sitting there getting dry. So although it would be nice to salvage your little bit of waste that you're going to have, it's probably not a good idea to dump it onto a good painting. So you can see how nice and solid that looks, and you're going to be able to tell that the painting is covered up completely with clear coat. And if you have oil left on your painting, you'll know right away because you'll have little divots and holes in your clear coat because it won't stick to that. So I usually go back and forth a couple times and I make sure that I got it nice and solid, like stuck to the painting before I roll anything off the edges. And if you got shakier hands or whatever, just put a little masking tape around here so then you could just roll it all the way to the edge. Maybe the next one will mask it off and I'll show you the difference. It doesn't, you don't have to be, right now I'm like trying not to let any of my clear coat, and I try not to stick my fingers in it. And when I tip it up, I try to level out all the clear coat across the whole canvas so that you got the same amount, like even thickness. And then when I tip it up to run it over to the edge, keep it very level so the whole edge gets it at the same time. And then I don't mind just touching the very edge of a canvas, but you don't want to stick your fingers all over in the clear coat because it always creates bubbles. So you see that nice even fog that's over the whole painting? And you don't want to like dry out your edges by tipping it too hard over the edge. Wipe it and then stop the drips because the drips are dragging your clear coat off. Now we'll tip it, we'll go back the other way. See, these little bridges, whatever you want to call them, they don't really fill in that easy. Fingers, I always call them fingers. And I don't see any bubbles in this one, so that's nice because then I don't have to try and stick them with a needle, hit them with the torch. Sometimes what happens when you use the torch to pop bubbles is it ends up taking the clear coat all the way down to the canvas. So as less things you got to do later, the better. I see one bubble in there. If you get it wet, it rolls over the edge better. Like, it's just dry. It's like when you pour water on the sidewalk and you watch it run. Once water finds a wet trail, it just keeps following that same trail. It's hard to get it to go down another spot. So that's why you gotta wet the whole driveway when you're washing it. So you see how that's happening right there? It's all puddling up, but it doesn't want to take off and run, but it wants to follow that little trail down. So you don't want to tip your whole painting real hard because you're trying to keep your clear coat over here and on the painting. So we only got one side left to do. And this is the first clear coat. I let this clear coat dry. And if I think it needs another layer, I'll wait and I can still do it while this is even still tacky, like in 2 or 3 days. Or I'll be happy with one layer. Every painting is not the same. Sometimes I like 3 coats. Sometimes the coat will get really messed up. And I've ended up, like one time the tablecloth flipped up on top of it when it was drying, so I had to sand it down. I had to wait a while for it to dry so I could sand it down and then re-clear coat it. Alright, so you can tap it a few times to see if you can pop the bubbles like that. I have one bubble right there. But usually I have a needle sitting around here somewhere. Can you give me a needle, Greg? Like a push pin? Somewhere around there, or a pencil. No, not a pencil, because I might get lead in here. Look up. There we go. Alright, so I have this little needle that I can use to pop that bubble. And I know that might seem a little nitpicky, but when you leave a bubble on your painting and then it dries, it's a hole. And then when you rub your hand across the painting, I like it to be like super smooth. And all those little bubbles will make the top of your painting not very smooth at all. So when you look at this, like, kind of lay your eye across it, because you might be able to see more bubbles if you get down a level with your painting and look at it. No, but this one here is like really nice. So we don't have to do anything else to it. If like right there, that little spot seems to be going all the way to the canvas, take your paint, your clear coat, and pour it in there. While this is all really nice and wet, that will self-level, and you won't even be able to tell that you had a little spot right there. Make sure that you just, I go around and I just rub the edges and make sure they're all clear coated. So that way you could either, and the edges are all painted too. So you can decide later if you want to frame this painting or if you like it is without a frame. But then at least the edges are clear coated. And wipe up underneath there so that it's not dripping. The drips drag your clear coat off the top of the painting. Alright, so that one is good. That's the way that looks. And I guess you could do that, but you don't want to stretch your canvas out. So just set it down and then leave it alone. Hope nothing blows on it. Don't open the garage door. So I'm in my garage, so I got a giant door. If I open it up, like leaves and everything want to come in. Thank you, Palma. How are ya? Alright, so here we go. This particular painting looks like it has a wolf in it. I probably should have showed you the painting before I poured the clear coat on it. It's too late now though. Alright, so keep this like your leading edge. So for some reason this one here is running that way, so this painting must be a little warped or something. So I might have to prop it up, because typically you don't have it going off into a direction. If you're nice and level, that's another thing too, is like my drying surface, this top of this table is really level. When we built the table, that was my main goal, was to have a level, very level pouring surface, drying surface. So when I set a painting down, I don't have to worry about coming out tomorrow and everything is in the tray because it ran off of my painting. Because it's just going to sit as long as you got your canvas stretched and it's nice and tight and flat and you can lay your eye across it. It kind of looks like water before you even get started. And you dry it on a level surface, then for sure you know when you come back you can walk away and it's not going to run off of the painting. Because I've done that in the beginning, had unlevel surfaces that I was drying on. Came back the next day, my painting was laying on the floor, because not the painting itself, but all the paint ran off of the painting and the paint was on the floor. And I really liked that painting too. For a while. So this is what we're doing, we're just spreading the clear coat by tipping. And you can see I got one bubble right here, but that'll probably pop eventually while we're doing this process. Or it'll run off the edge. So when you stir your water into your clear coat, stir it in very gently. Do not ever shake your jug. Never. Open it up. If you want, you can roll it around, like gently roll your jug around like I'm doing this painting to remix it. Or open it up and then remix it gently with a stir. I have it around here. I have these right here that I stir the clear coat with. So now this is my very first YouTube live stream. I have a friend of mine helping me get this set up. I'm not really expert at electronics, but that's why you got friends. So they can help you get going. And once he shows me a couple of times how to do stuff, I'll be able to do it. And then I wonder about, is there ways, Greg, to hook up languages?
Maybe.
Different languages? So they can listen in their own language?
No.
Okay. Oh, you're happy I'm on the YouTube? Yeah, a lot of people are always asking me if I have a YouTube channel. And I've had one, but I didn't really have it set up to do it. So I've been cranking my iPad around on my regular art page. And if you guys want to see my art, it's the roseycreations.com. That will pop you right onto my art page, so you can just look at paintings and other art. It's not just paintings, but I do other art. And different videos, and it's just different on my regular page. But you're welcome to pop on there and check it out. It's more casual. Not like this isn't casual, but so over here where I was like tapping on it in that corner, now I have a bunch of bubbles in there I gotta deal with. So tapping on it wasn't a good idea. So in the comments, can you write the name of the product? The Liquid-X? So we'll just write the name of the product in the comments so that you guys can, I know I showed it briefly. It's Liquid-X Professional Gloss and Varnish, and it's one product. And we'll just put it in the comments so that it's there to see. And so you don't have to rewind to try to find it. So this is what's relaxing about art, is that it's sometimes, you know, it goes kind of slow and you got to be relaxed and you got to take your time. It fills your day. Especially if all those little kids moved away, like all my kids did. This definitely fills my time. I used to have to I had a hard time when I didn't have kids around me trying to think of what I could do because I was so used to them kind of running the day, so I didn't have to think. So this really helps me to think again. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. That one there, it might be, that's the wrong one. That's pouring medium. It's this one that's sitting on the table. Alright, so this is good. I think it's nice and even. I don't see bubbles. Let me see if I see bubbles on there. So you kind of got to lay your eye across it because you're going to see bubbles when you do that. And then give it a few taps so that bubbles will come up out from underneath there, because I've had it before where my clear coat had bubbles in it, like right there's one. And then over time they made their way out of the painting, but they didn't really quite make it all the way out. So then I had like little glass bubbles on top of my painting. So there we go. We'll just pop the couple that I see. So I always keep these little pins handy for popping bubbles with. And then if I happen to get a cluster of bubbles, then I'll use my torch. But I try really hard not to have that happen. That usually happens on way bigger paintings. These little ones they're pretty easy to manage. And then my pouring table is made out of concrete mixing bins. So they're nice and big and deep. And I put this PVC across the top of it because the poles are round, so that when things stick to them, all you gotta do is roll the pole and it comes right off the back of your painting. When I've done it before on flat things like pieces of wood, then you are ripping your painting off of there It doesn't, and on a round surface, only so much of this is making contact with the back of your painting. It's not like a flat piece of wood and you're gluing down 2 inches of your painting to the piece of wood. On this here, it's barely making contact. So all you barely have to do is turn these poles and it'll come right off the bottom of your painting. So that's if you're pouring or if you're clear coating or whatever you're doing. It's important not to have it get glued down to the surface you're trying to dry it on. And I used to put those push pins in there and stuff, and then they get glued onto the back of the canvas, so then you gotta fight to get those off of there. So what I've come up with is the PVC pipe. It's rated for 400 psi, so the pipe is really, they're really thick and sturdy. And then the concrete mixing bins that are underneath here are really inexpensive. I paid $12 for a concrete mixing bin. They have a really smooth surface in the bottom of the bin. So everything that you get into the bin, once it's dried, it peels right out of the bin. Because the bin is made for concrete mixing, so you don't want the concrete to stick to the bin, so they're nice and they got a nice smooth shiny surface on them. And they're deep. I think these things are like 8 inches deep. They're 3 foot long and 2 foot wide. So it gives you plenty of room to work with. I got 4 of them taped together in a roll, and I taped down the center with masking tape so that I don't have product dripping in between my bins. So it doesn't matter where, and it's like when you go to clean this stuff up, all I do is grab the tape at one end, rip it off. It's real easy to assemble and to take it apart. So sometimes being set up nice it's like 95% of the battle. So just tip it gently so that you're pushing air out from underneath the clear coat. Don't tip it hard because then you're going to be running over top of air bubbles and then they're going to be showing up later. And then hopefully while you're still watching and not when you're not watching. But sometimes we just got to do something, then we got other things to do, so you can't babysit forever. When I have a beautiful painting, I will babysit it for like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours sometimes, just to make sure that nothing goes wrong with it. So on this video we have clear coated 2 other paintings, stretched them to begin with. The paintings have already been drying for weeks, so they were ready for their clear coat. I already washed them off. So this is kind of like an end product video, not the beginning, but as I go through developing my YouTube channel, I will have the whole process on there. But this is the phase that I'm at on the day that I started YouTube. So this is what you guys get to watch first, the end. There we go. So just kind of got to wet to get it to run. If you see it piling up and making a thick line, then sometimes you just got to touch it a little bit to get it rolling. Because you don't want it pouring off of one end of the painting and you don't have it evenly coming off the other end. Because that's product you could be using to cover your canvas. So I've been doing painting since I was in clear coating. I've always been really good at clear coating ever since I was a kid. I was just looking at some things I did in 1994, and as long ago as that was, the clear coat on that, the masks are just perfect. It's incredible how long this stuff lasts. It wasn't this kind of a clear coat, it was a spray. But my dad worked in his garage and he taught us a lot of things about how to paint, and so I learned how to clear coat from my dad, how not to have it running and globbing up and using a spray can. So I got really good at using spray cans. And now this is a new method for me of pouring it on. And I was also pretty good at brushing it on, but this is such a clearer, smoother finish. It's definitely worth taking your time, thinning out your clear coat and pouring it on these poured paintings versus brushing it on. You have no brush strokes with this. You don't have anything. It's such a perfect finish. So you see how that looks. It's like it's a nice perfect haze. You could tell that it's even on there. The haze is even. Try to tip it from side to side. See how much you got running. Like if you got a lot running off, you might want to let a little bit of that go so that it's not too thick and cracking. Because this clear coat, it will, when it dries, if it's too thick, the top layer will dry first. And then underneath it is still all big, and then what happens is it starts ripping the top layer open, so then you end up with cracks. So you gotta have like a nice, even, thin coat, so that when it dries, it just dries perfectly flat. But that's it. Now we're done clear coating all three of these. And that didn't take too much of your day, did it? So this is the end of this little video. This is using Liquid-X Professional Gloss Medium and Varnish. You can thin it out by adding up to 25% water. I use distilled water. Always use distilled water whenever you mix it in your paints, when you mix it in your clear coat, so that when you come back and you open up your jug in a week or two, it's not all moldy and going rancid, because our water has bacteria in it. Our water has fluoride in it. Our water has chlorine in it. They add so much stuff to our water that I think it destroys the products. So what I recommend is distilled water to mix into your paints, to mix into your clear coat, so that a month later when you open it up, you don't have mold in there because of the dirty water. Or your product isn't all broken down and runny, because I've seen that happen when I use water with chlorine in it. Chlorine doesn't really probably mix that well with these products. It probably breaks down everything. So the faucet water around our house is treated with chemicals, so you don't even want to drink it anyway. And you definitely don't want to add it to your products. So what else is there about this? Thin it down. I think that's about it, you guys. So if you guys if you like this video, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit the like button. Comment, you guys. I'll come back and I'll read the comments. You can subscribe. If you subscribe, then right next to that little button is a bell. So if you hit the bell after subscribing, if I pop on here, which is all different times of the day and night, I do videos because my schedule at work is all over the place. You'll get a notification, and if it happens to be the right time in your part of the world that you're up, you can pop on and take a look. Alright, so I'm going to let you go. Have a great day. Happy St. Patrick's Day.